Day tres. Today, the question is like, where did negative self-talk come from? I was walking down the street a couple months ago, and I remember I was recognizing, and I'm sure I've done this before, but I was recognizing the fact that there's a conversation happening within my mind, right? So I'm like, well, if there is someone talking, then who's listening? So I started to have this deep kind of observation around, well, if I'm listening, me, but I'm also the one talking, like, how did that dynamic form? Where did that come from? And so I understand like programming, different things like that. So I really want us, and this is really for myself, to really think about, why do I talk to myself in certain ways? How did that come about? Nine times out of 10, it comes from obviously our childhoods and the people around us who were teaching us the language that we know. And so I grew up in a household where there was a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming, a lot of not dealing with like emotions, things like that. And so I grew up around people who didn't talk nice to themselves, who didn't really talk nice to each other. And now I'm recognizing, like, damn, this is that voice that I am hearing that's not necessarily mine, but it is mine. And this is where that comes from me. I come from an environment, I grew up in Camden, New Jersey, where though it was cool, I grew up in the 90s, so that made it better, easier, but it was still rough. The neighborhood I grew up in was rough, so there wasn't a lot of positive reinforcement. I had good parents. I have good parents, and they did the best that they could with what they had. But at the same time, now that I'm observing the language that I am speaking to myself, I'm realizing that it's not necessarily mine. It's that it's coming from a place of basically where I grew up. And now that I have control, or I can see how it's affecting me, now I can do something about it. So the goal is to just have a conversation with myself and catch it. Catch the negative talk, catch the words that don't resonate. So day 3 on basically like talking nice to ourselves, and where does that come from? So tomorrow is going to be day 4. And for tomorrow, I want us to start finding ways to rearrange the negative self-talk pattern. So we'll talk about that for day 4.